Доллар пользовался очень большим доверием во всем мире. Это почти единственная была универсальная валюта мировая. Зачем-то Соединенные Штаты начали использовать долларовые расчеты как инструмент политической борьбы. Вводить ограничения на использование доллара. Своими руками начали пилить сук, на котором сидят. Но скоро они грохнутся. Доллары сокращаются как резервная валюта во многих государствах мира. Иран ограничивает в долларовых расчетах, на Россию вводит какие-то ограничения, на другие страны. Это подрывает доверие к доллару. Неужели это непонятно? Своими руками уничтожают доллар.
أنا أعتقد أن أوروبا الجديدة هي الشرق الأوسط.
President Trump has not punished senior Saudi leaders. Would you?
Yes, and I said it at the time. Khashoggi was in fact murdered and dismembered, and I believe in the order of the Crown Prince.
Negotiations between Saudi Arabia and China on settlements in the Chinese currency yuan for oil supplied from Saudi Arabia have been going on for several years. However, this year their intensity has increased amid Saudi Arabia's dissatisfaction with the US policy of negotiating a nuclear deal with Iran and the lack of support for the Saudi invasion in neighboring Yemen. During the presidential campaign, US President Joe Biden vowed to turn the Saudi kingdom into a pariah state for the murder of the Middle East Eye journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018, but in reality, can he deliver? I don't think so. Someone needs to wake sleepy Joe Biden up, because we're entering the Asian century where we'll see the dominance of Asian politics and culture. As for the West, they better play their cards right, because if they stick together as a so-called collective West, they may drown with the United States in the upcoming battle. China buys more than 25% of the oil exported by Saudi Arabia. Although Saudi Arabia hasn't made a decision on completely switching to the yuan currency, it still plans to keep the dollar as the main currency for most of its exported oil. But even a partial switch by the Saudis to the yuan could provoke other major oil suppliers to China, such as Russia, Angola and Iraq, to take similar steps, and that could be problematic for the dollar. Most of the world's oil sales, about 80%, are carried out in dollars. Saudi Arabia and China are among the largest holders of US government debt, in which countries store their dollars, and the US must be careful with all this, especially when their arrogance takes control over their foreign policy. For example, back in February, when the United States decided to freeze Russian dollar reserves, it provoked large holders of foreign exchange reserves to diversify their investments, and this trend will continue till a total dollar collapse. Saudi Arabia has invited China's President Xi Jinping to visit the kingdom in May. We'll have to wait and see what the Saudis have decided, but for now, things are looking quite solid in respect to relations between Saudi Arabia and China. Wahhabi Saudi Arabia has become so close to China despite US condemnation of China's policy towards the Uyghurs. Today, Saudi Arabia prepares to deport 4 Uyghurs, including a child, to China, who may be deported from Saudi Arabia to China this evening, and this is according to Amnesty International. Not only that, Saudi Arabia has been vocal that it actually supports the re-education camps over in Xinjiang. You see folks, the world is run through money, and that's what it's all about. In the past, the United States was a big oil importer and Saudi Arabia was a big oil exporter. The United States used dollars to buy Saudi oil, and the Saudis used dollars to buy American weapons and equipment, as well as fund mosques and madrasas across the globe, especially European capitals, to recruit jihadis for American-led wars, including Uyghurs, who were used in a number of countries like Syria and Afghanistan. But today, everything has changed. The status of the US dollar as the global reserve currency has once again become hot topic. If Saudi Arabia tore up the dollar currency settlement agreement with the United States and changed the single dollar denomination and settlement policy, Saudis can set precedent in the Middle East. This will be a landmark event in the process of internationalization of the Chinese yuan. America has nobody else to blame but itself. People are no longer listening to the cries over human rights. For too long, they've used human rights as a weapon to pursue their foreign policy goals. The US dollar's long-standing dominance imbalance over global trade is accelerating changes in the status quo as the West slaps sanctions on Russia over its military intervention in Ukraine. Today, my friends, Russia has offered Indian oil buyers a rupee-ruble payment option, while Saudi Arabia is in talks with China about pricing some of its crude in yuan. Therefore, my friends, we may see the collapse of the dollar in our lifetime.